Hello, loyal listeners. Welcome once again to Agents Influence Conversations with who? JCass. Today I got the girl. Today I got her here. And that was good. I wasn't planning on that, but I got Miss Katlyn Eggar out here. You know who she is. Everybody's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I know who she is. Oh my god. Yes. So we're gonna do a podcast and just kind of wrap up some things, want to talk about what the future is. But what I wanted to is I want to talk about you, Katlyn. And I'm glad that you joined us. Welcome to the podcast, Katlyn.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on,
Yeah,
Jason. It's been a little while since you and I co hosted a podcast together. So I'm
correct.
excited for the redo. The last time you had me on the podcast, I don't know if I told you this, but I've been up
Uh huh.
like all night working on whatever. And I'm pretty sure everything I said was gibberish. So today's my redemption. I'm bringing my A game, y'all.
Okay. It was. I think it was like 1 in the morning or something like that.
Who
I'm
knows?
serious. It was freaking, or it was late. It's when you and Justin usually stay up and work. Katlyn and Justin are owners of startup Quantum Insurance, which you guys hear my boy Jeff Shee, who is partners with it. I guess you can say it's Justin and Jeff. Maybe it's not. It doesn't matter. It's Priscilla, Jeff, Katlyn, and Justin is who is the owners of Quantum Insurance because it takes a tribe to do it. There's no doubt about that. So Katlyn, just for you loyal listeners who have come along, you don't know that Katlyn and I, as of, let's see, the summer of 2020 is when we first met. And it was kind of like, hey, we were kind of getting to know each other. She and I had kind of developed a great relationship starting in March. And then Katlyn kind of got involved. And you remember, I've told you this before, Katlyn, that the word that came to my mind after I dealt with you was dynamic. And you can go back to prior podcasts that I did with Katlyn and you'll see that that's the same word I used because I really thought you were dynamic and what you could do for this industry and the way you talked. And you remember one of our podcasts first we did is online leads are more dependable or something like that than referrals. And that just got
More
ignited the
predictable
industry.
than referrals.
More predictable. That's what it was. More predictables. And I mean, just ignited. We threw gas on fire because that's against what the independent agent thinks. And then it really propelled from there. And so then what we also did is we reached out to Katlyn after realizing how dynamic she was around September, October, and I said, Katlyn, you need to start a podcast and you need to come onto the network. And really, loyal listeners, that's how the network started. I didn't have some big grand plan. It was Katlyn needs to be heard. It's going to take her forever to get an audience because it just takes a while. Why not share my audience with Katlyn and elevate her to get her out there as fast as possibly we can? And that's where it came about. Now here we are with getting ready to have 10 shows after the first of the year. So it's amazing. Thanks for being the first to be on the network, Katlyn.
I owe you so much credit, Jason. It was such a fun thing, but it was your idea. I can't take credit for it. We were driving to the lake to see our in-laws, and you sent me a text and were like, "Hey, you should have a podcast." And I was like, "What?" So it changed my life. It's been a really cool experience. So looking back on the past year or so of episodes now, it feels a little bit like a Age of Independence anniversary. And
It is.
so I like, looking in the rearview mirror a little bit. It's good to kind of look back. And I didn't used to be a podcast host. I know you've been doing this for a long time. For me, it's just been a fun project to try to get out of my comfort zone, meet new people, talk about what we're doing at Quantum, find out what other people are doing. And I've met so many people, and that's really been the biggest thing. But I've learned so much from you. And Jason, I know that the first several episodes I put out, I would send you a message, ask for your feedback, ask for your advice because you're a master communicator. And I haven't seen anyone top it yet. So kudos.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And you did. And I would always try to be real with you, right? Because I was scared at the beginning too, Katlyn, that I had somebody else that was my audience was listening to. I didn't know if they were like who in the heck is this woman, But no, it was like, wow, Cass, great job. And I remember our fun time we had trying to come up with your intro. God, it took us forever on the name, right? And
Yeah.
then what was amazing, true another story. I'm thinking and I'm paying attention to something else that's outside this industry, and they said it was the age of it wasn't independence. And so I was like, "Hey, I think I got a good name," and we're going back and forth in Facebook, and you say, "How about Age of Independence?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Independence, holy cow!" And it just
Well,
like,
and you gave
boom,
me
it
the
came
idea to
about.
spell it indie. So,
Indie,
so thanks
right?
for the tip.
Yeah,
But the
it was
brainstorming was
awesome.
so fun.
Yeah, it was, and it just came. And when it came, is sometimes in marketing they say that whenever you're trying to think of things like that, you've got a I'll keep it clean, loyal listeners. You got an oh heck yeah or a, oh heck no, and it's got to be an oh
That one was
heck
an oh heck
yeah
yeah.
because
Yeah.
when those come about, you just know it, right? It's like it's over. That's it. So that was fantastic. So your business has has exploded. You guys came into the scene, started writing millions of dollars, and then $2 million, and then probably more than that a month. And people were wondering what you're doing. And this Jeff Shee guy out there talking over everybody's head. But with Katlyn, what how are you and what is your job today inside of
Oh
Quantum?
gosh. So yeah, it's been a super fun ride at Quantum. It's exploding. It it's a really wild ride. Our team works really hard. It's fast paced. Um, David Carruthers had me on his podcast like a summer ago, and he was like, "It sounds like Orange Theory." He's like, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I feel like you nailed it." I've never been to Orange Theory. I can only imagine what it's like in there, but it seems pretty fast paced. So,
Yeah, that's probably I've never been either. It sounds like a good
so
analogy.
funny. So I love that. I'm the director of education and development at Quantum. So we bring on a lot of new team members. We're always recruiting. We're always growing. Our agency force obviously has a lot of team members. So um, we have two main hubs in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and Allen, Texas. I'm in the Allen, Texas hub, and that's where a lot of our corporate leadership is located. Um, but we also have 70 agency locations across the country in 38 states right now. And so when Quantum was
Wow.
born, I hadn't intended to be the director of education. I'd never had that on my sights. I just always been in like sales, recruiting, working with our agencies on their numbers. But we needed sales training. We needed to be able to get people up and running. And that's kind of how it started. But our education team created a learning management system called Quantum University that houses our content, but it's in a structured onboarding program so that we can take someone who's new to insurance and get them planted in sales, train them on what they need to know, and the agencies use that to onboard their staff as well. Quantum does the customer service for our agency force, so that means it's really crucial that we're able to give agents everything that they need to get their sales teams up and running. So when a new salesperson comes on board at Quantum, whether it's in the hubs or in our agency, they're going to learn everything about a trusted advisor approach, selling with purpose, compliance and quality, and products and carriers and all of that good stuff. So it's a nice, well-rounded approach to try to give them all the tools that they need to succeed, because the carriers are going to give you some training, or you might get some sales training here, but we really wanted everything in one place in one experience. And so
Wow.
we spend the first 2 weeks really on Quantum mission and values and trusted advisor and learning coverages. So they don't even hit the phones now until much later on in the process, and they're in training and onboarding for 4 to 6 months. But we're seeing huge success from it. We've had, and I just figured this out today. We had a Quantum meeting. We call it Fireside Chat, just where the entire company gets together once a month to talk about the achievements from the previous month, looking ahead. So I hadn't seen this yet, but in Quantum University, we've had 500 students go through our
Wow.
program so far. And we have 70 courses in there. I went and then I was like, how many videos? We have 875 videos. And it's not just me
Wow.
that created that. Our education manager, Amanda Mapp, and our education training specialist, Jennifer Rupert, and some of our other team members at Quantum have really helped pull this together. But that's what I spend a fair amount of my time on. So when you ask what my role is at Quantum, we love insurance. We want to change the brand of insurance and make it something where you don't just stumble into it one day because you found out about it from a friend. We want people to graduate high school and college and want to be insurance agents and grow up wanting to be insurance agents. And so that means we have to be able to bring people in that are new to the industry. And that's the mission of my team. So that it's something cool and relevant and fun, and the classes are awesome. People love it. And that's what I'm going to keep working on in 2022.
So in the last year, that's what been your focus, and you're going to keep going.
That's been my focus, and I work really closely with the recruiting teams and the service teams as well. So you'll hear about those things on the podcast. I love talking about recruiting just from a culture standpoint in the agency, because I think that's something you and I have in common, Jason. We love this industry so much, and it's so life-changing. It's such a massive opportunity. I want it to be available to people in other industries that just haven't thought about it.
I want it to be available to other people as well, too. I mean, and we are terrible at training, so it's great that you're grabbing that by the horns. And a lot of that comes from your success with Allstate, which probably gave very great training. The captives give good training.
Well, the independents say that. We didn't feel that at the time. But,
really? Yeah. That's interesting. That makes sense.
It's a different experience than the independent world, but for a long time there, we felt like we were, having to figure things out. So you get binding authority training on the systems. You do get some sales training. I think what they offer now is different than we were there as well. So keep that in mind, because it's been a couple years. But
gotcha.
It's still, even in the captive world, I think there's a big gap in the onboarding programs for someone that's trying to get up and running. There's still so much trial and error and so much guesswork that an agent has to put in to figure things out. And so I'm hoping to help solve that problem.
Yeah. Wow. That's good. So what have you learned from being a podcast host? Has it helped you connect with more people? I mean, Jeff was just on a podcast with me, and he was talking about he'd never been on a podcast before, but the amount of people that reached out to him the first time he did. Isn't it amazing the connections you can make? And some of the things and the people that reach out that you go, holy shit, people are listening. What are some of your thoughts on that?
It's incredible, the connections you can make. I interviewed a guy that is in South Africa that, has a consulting company, but he works with insurance in other countries overseas. So that was like a really cool connection that was obviously way outside of my circle before I'd had a podcast. So as far as stuff that I've learned, oh my gosh, like there's 100 things I've done wrong. It's been a great learning thing for me. I look at it as, what can I learn from this? How can I get better? How can I get better at articulating my message? What am I trying to say? What is the person I'm interviewing trying to say? Some of the good feedback that I've had from my guests is they said, wow, like you asked really great questions. So that's something I'm proud of, that I think obviously I can always improve in that area. But that to me was meaningful feedback that, made me feel like good. I'm on the right track. I love it when a guest says like, wow, that was a great interview, because the reality is, unless it's a solo episode, if I'm interviewing someone, it's not about my story at that moment. It's about their story. So how can I get out what they're trying to say? And they're really following your lead. So there's so much opportunity there that the episode can take any path. You never know where it's going to go exactly. So I always, as far as advice, I don't know. I prep 10 to 15 to 20 questions ahead of time. And then I usually end up using 3 or 4 of them. But that way I don't hit a moment where I have a brain freeze and I'm like, what am I going to ask next?
And we've all been there, and sometimes it sucks. You're like, oh crap. Let me ask you this, Katlyn. Go outside of the podcast and it putting a strain on your time, because it does. All of us admit this is not an easy thing. It's not like, oh, our ego is so big we just want to be heard. No, we really have an interest in the industry, and it does take a time commitment. And I know you and Justin are so dedicated to your kids, like most parents are. But owning a couple businesses, being involved in the podcast, I mean, what are some of the secrets that you and Justin are doing? Because you do spend a good quality time with your kids. I mean, I'm just asking, do you have a nanny? Do you have someone that helps you? Is it in-laws? I mean, how are you staying focused that way?
Traditionally, I have a lot of help. So our in-laws live a little ways away. We get together with them when we can.
Well, that's right.
I've traditionally had a nanny up until this summer. So I have not had a nanny since August. And so the kids are
Wow.
in school, but I
Oh,
I
makes sense.
like I've been getting so much more quality time with them than, when we did have a nanny. And we'll have one again in the future, but I'm really picky and I want to make sure it's the right person. So we're taking our
Hmm.
time. So basically, yeah, I'm pretty busy. Every mom is. It's often,
Hmm. Every
this
mom
week I
is,
was up
yes.
till 2 a.m. working on, a business plan for one of the departments for next year. And that's okay. I'm cool with that. I'd rather stay up late and work on the business plan once the kids are in bed than miss dinner with them, for example. Um, Justin and I
Absolutely.
just took the kids to a Christmas event the other day after work. Um, I laugh because it was a Christmas tree lighting ceremony at their school. And I was so excited about it. They were like, we're going to have food trucks and a snow hill and a bouncy house. We get there. First of all, we were a little late because that's what happens when you're in Eggar. It is what it is. So we literally, I kid you not,
Ah.
walk up. So much traffic. We park, we walk up. The tree had already been lit. Like we literally caught the moment the fireworks went in the air. They'd already lit the tree and we were like, oh, like we missed the tree lighting. It's thousands of people are there. So I kid you not, to ride one ride, so they want to go down the snow hill, you have to wait in line for like an hour. So the kids are like whining. they We're like, it's dinner time. What are we gonna feed them? Usually our kids are super flexible, but that day they were just like, meh, we don't like this event. Like this isn't worth it. And one kid goes down the snow hill on the little tube, and we're in Dallas, so like a snow hill's a big deal, y'all. And
Absolutely.
the other kid starts crying and is like, I don't want to go sledding. And I'm like, why not? What is. So I have this picture with, like, you should see the range of emotions on the faces in this family picture. The kids are like bawling. And so Justin's like, let's go get sushi. So we took the kids to sushi, and I have happy pictures of them eating sushi. So we do get quality time with them. They're awesome.
The day in the life of a
But
parent.
yeah, so we just we try to spend as much time with them as we can, and everything's an adventure in our house, and we make it work.
I was so excited to go. We missed the tree. The kids didn't want to go
It
down
was a
the down
disaster.
the snow hill. And how many times are the ones that you think are going to be the disaster that you're not excited about, and those are the ones that are the
Right?
funnest? It's weird how life is that way. It truly, truly is. That's right. That's right. And so, here's, whenever you're going through the things that you're doing and you're trying to just stay ahead of what's going on in the industry, because it really is very, very demanding. The industry is demanding because customers are demanding, clients are demanding, and that's okay. That's the world. I'm not griping about that. Where do you see yourself personally being in 2, 3 years, 5 years? What change do you think that you're going to really not create, but help make through and usher, maybe even create? I mean, what do you see? What's your personal goals for Caitlin?
So I think there's two things. I think one is, a little more external to quantum, and one is more inside. So when I talk to my education team about, like, what are we doing here? What's our mission? What's our purpose? What are we doing different? We want to change the face of insurance, change the brand of insurance to make it a place people want to be, right? And we want content to be fun and engaging and modern and relevant and work and really meaningful and actually, like, really, really help people. And so we're just working really, really hard to put stuff out there that makes insurance a fun, attractive industry for talent out there in the world that's looking for a new change. There are so many people out there praying for their next career, and they haven't even thought about insurance yet. And so I feel like our team can make a really big difference there. Just the stories from the team members and agents that have come through Quantum and what it's done for their lives, and we're really committed to that. And so um,
Love
the
it.
other side of that, it's kind of similar, but our position in the marketplace is that insurance needs to be modern, it needs to be tech friendly, it needs to meet the needs of the modern consumer, but people still deserve and need to be educated on what they're buying. And I feel like when you look at some of the modern companies, the directs, some of the insurtechs, some of the lemonades of the world, they've done so much of that right. They've made it easier for
Mm-hmm.
clients, but some of them have really commoditized it. And so our position is that you can make insurance something that meets the wants, needs, and lifestyle of a client and still take time to educate them. So in our
I
service center,
agree.
for example, we don't have call handle times. I've interviewed so many people that are in call center environments, from like a Geico, a Progressive, for example. And one of their key metrics is getting the client off the phone fast enough. That's just not a thing at
Really?
Quantum. And so instead we look at the flip of that. We look at their total talk time for the day instead of the shortest possible average call that they could have, because clients still want to be talked to. They still want to be getting good advice. They still want to have somebody to walk them
They
through the
really do.
process. And we feel like our position is to be a guide that helps the client make a great choice for their family, and then, give them a pat on the back for making a great choice. They can make a choice today that sets them up for tomorrow. And that's what our team's there to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to take that element out of it in our pursuit to make it, easy and convenient for the client.
We're not there to sell the client. We're there to help them make a purchase. We want to help them purchase the insurance because they have to purchase it. They do need the advice. So many times that phone rings and that CSR, account manager, producer, whoever it could be, is taking that information, is literally thinking to themselves, this person wants to get off the phone as fast as they can with me. There's a lot of different things that we think about, and it's just not true. They really do want to be educated. And if someone doesn't want to be educated, well, that tells you that they're price sensitive, and you can try to maneuver around that for whatever ways you want in your agency. But I think we create these things, is my point, in our head to where we think like, oh, this person wants to get off the phone, I need to be quick. We find out and we say and we tell our people all the time, if you're usually on the phone for 15 to 20 minutes and you've been having a good conversation, God, your closing rate is like over 90%. I mean, it really truly is, because how many times have you thought somebody wants, loyal listeners, how many times have you thought somebody wants to get off the phone, and then what they end up telling you after they purchase from you is, you were the only one that explained things to me. You're the only one who took the time to explain those things to me. Wouldn't you find that to be true, Katlyn?
Totally. I think our job is to make it easy for them to make a good decision. So regardless of whether that's a short call or a long call, at the end of the day, if we made it easy for them to make a good decision, then we did our job.
Makes sense. No, I like that. I do. I love that. I love that. And so, okay, so keep trying to change the face of insurance. I love when you keep saying that. What are some of the things that you guys are doing to find those people, or actually before they know about insurance? How are you getting out there to find those people specifically and change that face,
Our
Katlyn?
recruiting team is really active online. So whether it's job sites, especially LinkedIn, and career events in the community, college fairs, all of those things as well.
Gotcha. So you're doing all that stuff. That's
Yeah,
cool.
well, honestly, I mean, just to kind of like turn back the clock a little bit, before we were even in the independent world, one of the most pivotal things we did that I think took us from being a traditional captive agency to really scaling a operation that was writing massive numbers was hiring an internal recruiting team. So we hired, our first recruiter, and then our second recruiter, and our third recruiter. And it was one of the things we did that helped give us the infrastructure that we needed to start producing $1 million a month in the captive world.
Wow. That's good insight right there. A recruiting officer.
And I think
I'm
a
trying
lot
to
of
make my
a lot of agents feel like it's hard to find talent right now. I just hear that from a lot of people. My take on it is that it's not hard to find talent right now. A lot of people are looking for something different with all of the disruption in different industries due to COVID. But it's hard to recruit people for insurance. Like, it's not super easy. It's not something they're familiar with. If they had a family member or friend that got into insurance and had a bad experience, they might have a negative perception of insurance. And so the stronger your corporate culture is, internally and the stronger your agency's brand is externally, the easier it's going to be for you to recruit. And so I really can't overemphasize how important it is to have fresh and relevant content on your social media and your external brand, but your internal team culture has to be really tight around your mission and your purpose and something fun that people want to get behind. And that way, when someone interviews and you do get in front of that person, they end up choosing insurance and choosing your agency when they could go work somewhere else. And so I think that investing time in that, and if somebody hears that and they're like, well, I feel like I've already done that, or I'm not sure where to start, I feel like events that you do, Jason, where people can get together and talk and brainstorm, sometimes you might just need someone else's fresh perception on your agency branding and team culture and just ask them. I think,
That's
or
true.
hire a consultant like Kelly Donahue Piro. She does a great job with branding as well. But it's going to be really hard to recruit in insurance until you get that down. At least that's what my experience was. We had my captive agency was Inner Circle Elite years before I figured out recruiting. Every year I felt like, oh my gosh, it's so hard to hire people. So I've been there. And it really, you guys are writing your goals for 2022. You probably can't pull them off without the right people. You probably have recruiting on that list. And, I'll be putting out an episode on that again soon. We've talked about it in the past, but it's just, you're not gonna be able to hit those goals without the right people. I've been there. I know how frustrating it is, but it can be done. And it's a never ending process, just like marketing, but it completely changes your organization when you're able to get the right people. And I feel like the team culture is the first place to start in that plan.
The host of Age of Independence podcast, Katlyn Eggar, is you can expect, I'd like to get a wrap from you, Katlyn, a wrap up, but you can expect to continue to hear her. She's going to reformat her show a little bit more and kind of put it out in seasons. You may get 3, you may get 5 podcasts, let's just say a quarter. I think that's a really great way. Jeff Roy, who is joining our podcast network on January 10th, actually puts out seasons. They're actually in their 4th season, and I'm starting to see a lot of podcasters do that. So all you loyal listeners, keep in mind that you may not hear her every week, but you will hear her in her season. And Katlyn, any last things you want to say before we wrap up?
Excited about that. And man, I can't wait to listen to Jeff's content on the platform next year. The accent is going to be really switch it up for everybody. I love it. He has really great stuff. So congrats, Jeff Roy from Age of Independence. Next season, you guys are going to be hearing about branding, recruiting, coaching, and sales. Those are just the areas that I feel like are really pivotal for Quantum right now. And I want to share what we're learning, what's not working for us, and talk to other people outside of Quantum as well about what they're doing. And I think that'll give us a really strong chunk of content for next quarter. But thanks for listening to the podcast. You guys are amazing. I just had messages on LinkedIn yesterday from people who were listening to older episodes of Age of Independence. So thank you, Jason, for having that platform where people, they go back and they listen and catch up on episodes that they hadn't heard yet. And so I can't thank you all enough at this 1-year anniversary mark for Age of Independence for what you've done to change my life and the amazing encouragement. Heath Sharon, thank you for texting me and saying, great episode. Jason, thank you for telling me when I needed to land the plane and get out of the weeds or fix my audio.
Fix my audio.
And so I just, to me, this is a learning experience. I want to learn as much as I can from the guests, and I want to become a stronger and stronger communicator. And so I follow your example in that, Jason. Thanks for having me on the platform, and I'm really excited for the next season of content. You guys will see that drop in January.
And and thank you to the team there at Pod Squad, right?
Oh my gosh,
Riza,
Sarah.
Robin, Sarah. Oh my gosh, they're absolutely phenomenal what they do. They are. They really are. They keep it on and just professional. Sarah leads an organization that's just absolutely professional. She's special. She makes you and I look good, and sometimes that's not always easy, Caitlin. Or well, not look good. I mean, we're both good looking, sound good. That's what I mean. So, anyways, that's my ego speaking. Just my ego. So, anyways, Caitlin, definitely appreciate it. Thank you very much for being a part of the network. Look forward to season 2. Yes, this is coming out before. Right now, loyal listeners, we're doing this on December 3rd. It's 10:37 a.m. So you'll be hearing this before 2022. Think about that recruiter of talent in your agency. I really think that was interesting. And Caitlin, that's something that a lot of people don't talk about, is a recruiter of talent. And actually, because you'll be getting your invite here soon for BrainShare, that would really be something cool that if you come to BrainShare that you would talk about, take 10, 15, 20 minutes and explain and get some feedback as we brain share that topic, because that's something you don't hear agents talk about. And that, once again, that's just what Katlyn Eggar does. Katlyn, I
Merry
appreciate your
Christmas, y'all.
time. Merry Christmas. This has been Agents Influence, conversation with Jason Cass. And today we also had Miss Katlyn Eggar, the host of Age of Independence. And I am Cass, and she is Eggar, and we are out.